Hello, welcome to Lunar Flow. Okay, so tomorrow is the full moon. So that means that today we've got a waxing gibbous moon, and that just means that it's more than half full, it's moving towards being all the way full. So from a spiritual standpoint, this is kind of like the final steps of the cycle. People are striving to complete their projects. They're striving to move in the direction of their intentions, just as the moon is striving to be full. It's almost there, but not quite. So with all of the strife and all of that kind of feeling, this represents the hardest part of the month for a lot of people. Especially right now with the moon in Capricorn. Capricorn has really high expectations. They really strive for excellence and for doing the best and for being the best they can be. In fact, a lot of times, if someone has a lot of Capricorn in their chart, they just won't respect people unless they're given like good reasons to. So just keep that in mind. This kind of overshadowing feeling of needing to do your best and needing to get your things done can be really useful. It can be helpful, but we can cross the line where we're just kind of beating ourselves down into the ground, or we're beating ourselves up for not being where we think we should be. This is an opportunity for people to be more mindful in what they're doing and why, and be aware of the circumstances, and just kind of get choosier with, I'm going to say yes to this and no to this, and that way I can propel myself more in the direction of my intentions and my goals. It's a time to reflect on what's working right now and what you might need to change. The full moon is when things kind of come to fruition. So as we've been putting in that work, we've been putting in that effort. Now is a really good time to kind of pause and to look back and take notes, analyze what's been serving you well, what hasn't. With that kind of knowledge, with that kind of awareness comes a great power. We can start to strip away, as the moon gets smaller towards the new moon, we can strip away those things that weren't very helpful for us or that were harmful for us. So we're back to kind of a muddy energy, a kind of slow energy. The sun is in the last degrees of Cancer, so it's a water sign. And the moon is in Capricorn, so earth sign. You mix water and earth together and you get mud. So we're going to, even though the energy is building for the full moon, we're going to move a little bit more slowly as we practice. Now that doesn't mean it's going to be easier, but we're going to hold our planks and hold a warrior or two, so we can kind of imitate that determination, that striving, that I'm going to get through to the end kind of mentality. And we'll focus on bringing softness in as we try, and just having a good balance of everything. So let's get started. We'll start our practice on our backs. So everybody lay down. Put your feet on the floor on the edges of your mat, and then let your knees fall together. So put a hand on your belly, put a hand on your heart, and feel that connection, especially your belly to hand. Cancer rules the belly. A lot of times when we see people with lots of Cancer in their charts, or certain planets in Cancer, we can predict that they're going to have some tummy issues. And conversely, Capricorn rules the knees. So we're going to do we're going to be mindful of our knees as we practice today. We just want to make sure that we are not straining our knees, that we're not doing anything unhealthy for our knees. Our knees are important. They help us to bend. And from like a spiritual standpoint, when you get down on your knees, you're asking for something. You're hoping to receive something. Now walk your feet in together. Take your left leg out straight on the ground. Bring your right knee towards your chest. And we're just going to hold for a few breaths, a few moments here. By keeping this bend in our knee for more than just a moment or two, we're taking care of this joint. So let your feet relax. Let your calves relax, your shins, your thighs. And just trust that something is happening. It's part of where the moon is at as well, as it's in its final steps. It's not fighting, it's not avoiding, it's just going with the flow. It's trusting that it will be full, like clockwork. Everything in the world goes through these kinds of cycles of expansion and then kind of like decimation. If you think about the plant cycle, this would be the part where there are buds. There's a stalk, there's a stem, there are leaves, and now there are buds, and there's always buds before there's flowers. That's just a part of how it goes. And let's move our knee from side to side. Bring your right knee into your left hand and take a twist. Move your knee towards the left side of your mat. Reach out through your right arm. Gaze over your right fingertips. Bring your knee back towards center, and we'll switch sides. Take your right leg out long. Bring your left leg in, and we'll just pause here. Remember to trust where you're at. Trust that we are caring for our knee, we're caring for our body, we're caring for our mind, our spirit. Let your feet soften, especially the arches. Put all of your focus into the arches of your feet. And we'll come back to that feeling of trust. We are a part of the natural world. We don't get to be exempt from the patterns that we can see in everything else. The growing and then the shrinking that we see in the moon, that we see in our plant friends. We see it in the tides. We see it everywhere. Let's move our left knee from side to side. Bring your left knee into your right hand. Guide your knee to the right side. Take your left hand out to the left and gaze over your fingers. Bring your knee back towards your chest. And then plant both of your feet back down on the mat. Let's take a few windshield wipers, just moving your knees from side to side, rolling your low back and your buns down into your yoga mat. And point your knees back up to the ceiling, bring them in towards your heart. Cross at your ankles, take 3 rock and rolls up and down your spine, and we'll meet in a tabletop. We'll go up, back and forth. On the 3rd one, we'll meet in table. And take a couple C curves from your tabletop, just stretching into your side body. Try to look around and see your hip as you move your head from side to side, as you move your hips from side to side. And work your way back towards center. Take your right toes to the back edge of your mat, press back into your heel. Then lift your right leg up towards the ceiling. So it's parallel with your body, parallel with your spine. We'll take our left hand forward for spinal stabilization. Bring your left hand down to the mat. Take a modified side plank. So we'll reach our right hand up to the ceiling, stacking right shoulder on left shoulder, right hip on a left hip. And try to make your leg parallel with your hips. So this will be your modified version of side plank when we get there. If side plank is too much on your wrists or your shoulders, or you're just not quite in a space where you want to exert that much, that's fine. This is a really good point for you to meet at. From here, we'll come up into gate pose. So drop your right foot down to the ground, put your right hand down on your right leg, take your left arm up and over. And bring your left hand back down to the mat under your left shoulder. Take your right arm up and over. Big, big, big reach forward. And bring yourself back down to tabletop. Let's take a few cats and a few cows. Come back down to neutral with your spine. Take your left toes to the back of your mat. Press back into your heel. Give your calf a good stretch. And lift your left leg up off of the ground. Lift your right leg, your right arm forward, spinal stabilization. From here, we'll find our modified side plank. Bring your right hand down under your right shoulder. Stack yourself up, reaching your left hand up over your shoulder, your left leg straight out of your hip socket. We want our joints to be as stacked as they can, so shoulder on shoulder, hip on hip. From here, we'll shift into gate pose. Drop your left foot to the back of your mat, left hand, left leg, right arm up and over. And bring your right hand back down under your right shoulder. Take your left arm up and over. Big side body stretch. And come back down to table. Tuck both of our toes under. Bring your seat down to your heels. Do your best to sit on your toes. If that's too much sensation in your feet, you can put a block or a pillow under your bum. And we'll bring our hands together and make some figure eights. So we're just warming up our wrists for our side planks. Take it around both directions a couple of different times. All right, then bring your hands back down to the mat. Tap the tops of your toes down on the ground. All right, now become still in your feet and legs and turn your right fingertips out to the right side, all the way around so they point back to your right knee. Press back with your hips. Give that wrist and forearm a good opening. Then switch, bring your right fingers to point forward, left fingers point out to the side, and then come all the way around to point back to your left knee. Then bring all 10 fingers to point forward again. Now we'll turn the top parts of our hands down so our palms face our face. We'll point our fingertips together, our thumbs point to the top of the mat. Press into your pinky fingers and thumbs, and then just kind of rock gently from side to side. Keep a bend in your elbows. We don't want to do too much pressure here. Good, come back to center, unflip your hands. Tuck your toes. One more time, take a seat on your feet, shake out your hands. Good, come back down to table. Keep your toes tucked. We'll move to downward facing dog. From here, pedal out your heels a few times. Notice your foundation, your hands and your feet. And see if you can make your foundation stronger by engaging through your core. So we're going to use our core to press our hands down into the ground. We're going to use our core to press our feet down into the ground, making a really, really strong version of downward facing dog. And take your feet apart so they move to the edges of your mat. Walk your hands back to your feet. Ragdoll, grab onto your elbows. Put a giant bend in your knees to start off with. So much so that you can feel your chest, maybe your belly on the tops of your thighs, and then let your head go completely. Slowly start to straighten out your legs. Drop your hands down to the ground. Walk your feet in together and bring a bend into your right leg. Take your right fingertips down on the mat. Reach your left fingertips up to the ceiling. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, fold. Inhale, opposite side. Right hand lifts, left knee bends. Forward fold, exhale. Hands to shins, halfway lift, breathe in, long spine, long legs. Exhale, breathe out. Inhale, reach up for the ceiling, extended mountain pose. Exhale, fold forward. Bend your right knee, inhale your left hand up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, right hand lifts up to the ceiling. Exhale, fold. Hands to shins, halfway lift, breathe in. Forward fold, breathe out. Extended mountain pose. Forward fold. One more time, twist your left hand up to the ceiling, bend your right knee. Exhale, bow. Inhale, right hand lifts. Exhale, bow. Hands to shins, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Extended mountain pose. This time, exhale your hands down to your heart. Focus your eyes over your fingertips. And just check in with your surroundings. Check in with your circumstances. Become aware and mindful of what it is you're doing and why. And with an inhale, reach up to the ceiling. With an exhale, fold your way forward. Bend your knees, deep bend, crawl out to a high plank. Stack your joints up, shoulders on wrists, heels on toes. Now you can use this as your plank. You can also lower your knees. If you drop to your knees, we want a straight line from shoulders to knees. We don't want our butt up in the air. Bring your right hand down under your nose. We'll take side plank, lifting the left hand up to the ceiling. So now is that time to modify if you'd like, just like we started out with, a modified side plank. Take your left arm over your head, lift your hips up high, try to make like a rainbow arch. And then bring your hand up, drop your hips, high plank, come back down. We'll switch over to the other side. Left hand center, right hand lifts up, modified or side plank. Use your core here to make your legs really strong, to make your arms really strong. Take your right arm over your head, lift your hips, go for that big rainbow arch. And then bring your hands back to high plank. From here, we'll move to our belly. So again, you can stay in plank or you can drop your knees and take the 8-angle pose. We'll all bend our elbows, keeping them close to the body. Inhale, cobra pose, lift up. Exhale, downward facing dog, lift up and back. Inhale up through your right leg. Roll your hip open, bend your knee, unbend your knee a few times, just bending and straightening. Step your right foot up between your hands. And then crescent lunge, shake your hands up high. We want our hands to stack above our shoulders. Now focus your eyes somewhere ahead of you. Tune into that determination, that final steps kind of attitude. I've made it this far, I can keep going. Bring your hands together at your heart. Press them together so the muscles in your arms engage, your chest engages. And we'll turn to the right. We want to latch our left elbow around our right knee. And then once you get sturdy there, press again into your hands, making your arms strong, your chest engaged. Open up your arms wide. Again, we can do this with our back knee on the ground. We can do it with our back leg off the ground. You listen to your body. Work your way back up to center crescent lunge. And then warrior two, pivot your back heel down to the ground. Check in with your feet. And then drop your arms into the T. Take your right elbow down, take your left arm up and over, side angle. Now without changing the depth that you have, we want to keep a 90-degree angle in our front knee. See if you can create that like rainbow arch on your left side. Warrior two, lift your way back up tall. And cartwheel your hands down to the mat. Turn all 10 toes to point forward. And let's lift up for a standing split. So we're gonna press into our right leg to lift up through our left leg. Place your right hand down right under your nose. So it's about 1 foot, 12 inches away from your standing leg. You can use a block, you can use a book, you can use something here other than the ground if you'd like. We're gonna move into a half moon. Stack up our joints, left shoulder on right, left hip on right. Now if there's a version you'd like to play with, play. You can bind it by grabbing your top leg. You can extend out long, taking your left arm over your head. Then meet in a forward fold. Feet down, hands down. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Extended mountain pose. Forward fold, exhale. High plank, step your feet back. And we'll go into our side plank series again. So if you would like your knees, use your knees. We'll put our right hand down and take your left hand up. Take your left arm over your head, lift your hips, go for that big, big, big rainbow arch. If you'd like, lift your top leg up. You can bend your knee, put your foot on your leg like in tree pose. And come back to your high plank. We'll go to the opposite side. So left hand under your nose, right hand to the ceiling. Play around. Maybe do something different, maybe do the same thing. And we'll all come back to plank. From plank we'll find our belly, so get there the best way you know how. Cobra pose, lift up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take your left leg up to the ceiling, roll your hip open, bend and unbend your top knee. And step your left foot up between your hands, crescent lunge. Set your gaze ahead of you and focus. Feel your determined spirit. This is one of my favorite stories about determination right now. One of my aunts learned how to play golf at 39. She did not really want to pay for it, so she found a golf course that had a tournament every year that the winner would get free membership. And what did she do? She won that tournament every year for 25 years. She was not about to pay for golf. Bring your hands down to your heart. Turn to the left. Bring your right elbow to your left leg. Well, that's a woman that, I bet she was always in the final steps of something. I bet she was always doing something. I'm not saying that it was healthy. I don't know her very well, but I'm just admiring how determined she was, how good at follow through she was. That's what the part of the cycle is right now. Let's move back up to crescent lunge. Find warrior 2 feet. So we want our heel to line up with our back arch, then take your arms open into a T. High side angle, drop your left elbow down, take your right arm up and over, big side body opening. Bring your hands down to the ground. Turn your toes so they all point forward. And standing splits, lift your way up off of the ground. Prepare yourself for half moon. So put your left hand down under your face. We don't want it to be right in front of our toes. That makes it really hard to balance. We want about 12 inches of space between our fingers and our toes. And then start to stack up. We want our right shoulder to stack on our left. We want our right hip to stack on our left. can stay here or play. You can bind, grab onto your top foot, or you can stretch out as long as you can, taking your right hand forward and your right heel back. Let's fold everything forward. Forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Extended mountain pose. And then bow. Bend your knees, take your feet back to a high plank. We'll do one more plank series. Right hand down, left hand reaches. If nothing else, go for that big rainbow arch. And hands connect, high plank. Switch over to the other side. Left hand down, right hand up. And find your expression. Find your determination to stay here. Even as the intensity builds. And high plank. Find your way back to your plank pose. We'll lower down on or off your knees. For a cobra, inhale up. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Now step your left foot forward again. We'll turn to the side for a straddle fold. We want all of our toes pointing the same direction. Bring your spine parallel with the floor, halfway up. Interlace your hands behind your back, press your knuckles back behind you, and then fold your way forward. Release your hands down to the ground. Put your right hand down under your nose. Take your left hand up to the ceiling. Twist. Release, switch sides. And fold. Take a few side-to-side lunges, bending one knee at a time. Work back to center. One more pose here and then we'll move on. We're gonna crawl our hands out in front of us. Kind of like we're in a downward facing dog with really wide legs. Once you get your hands maybe a foot or 2 feet away from your yoga mat, start to press your chest back towards your thighs, just like you would in downward dog. Let your head drop. And walk your hands into your body. Crawl off to your front leg, turn your toes forward, step forward, and then find a seat. Let's find our way back onto our backside. Connect your body down with the floor, head and shoulders, spine down. And we'll pull our knees in towards our chest and take your feet up to the ceiling. So if you want to find a wall, for this, you can do legs up the wall. Otherwise, we can just do this modified version. This is a good way to get our nervous system to wind down. It's a passive stretch. It's an inversion. Our feet are above our hearts. Start to put your focus on your exhales. Draw them out longer. So we want to, just for example, we'll count in for 4 counts. Hold your breath for 4 counts. Breathe out for 5 counts. And then hold out for 5 counts. Inhale 4 counts. Hold 4 counts. Exhale 5 counts. Hold it out 5 counts. Inhale, 4 counts. Hold it in your lungs, 4 counts. Blow it out, 5 counts. And hold it out, 5 counts. Take a few normal breaths in and out, without regulation, without manipulation. A lot of times when the full moon is here, the couple days leading up to it and a few days after, there is an intense amount of energy. So we have that going for us. But Uranus is also trining the moon right now. Uranus is the planet of electricity. The moon is our emotional body. So it's bringing like a nervousness and anxiety on the low road. If you're sensitive and susceptible to that, can also bring like a new approach to doing things, thinking outside of the box. It's kind of, Uranus is kind of like the rebel or the disturber. He'll like shock you and you'll come back with new ideas and new thought processes, new patterns. And so there's a lot of energy around us right now. It's building up to a peak. It's affecting our bodies, our minds, our emotional bodies. So anything that we can do to help soothe our nervous system will just be especially helpful right now. Bring a bend into your knees and set your feet back down on the mat. Take your arms into a T and cross your right leg over your left leg. Drop your knees down to the left and your eyes down to the right. Bring yourself back to neutral and we'll switch. Take your left leg over. Knees fall to the right, eyes fall to the left. Your knees back to neutral and cross your legs. Take your legs out long on your yoga mat. Bring your hands down to your low belly. And check in again with where you are. Your circumstances, the work that you've been doing, the momentum that you've been building. Your mind back to trusting the process, believing that where you're at is a really good place for you to be, a perfect place for you to be. Let's also just imagine ourselves lifting up our legs so we can float downstream. We're not holding on. Not clutching at the edge of the bank. We're not fighting against the current of the river, but rather we've got our little inner tube, lift up our legs, and we see where we can go. We trust that. We trust the flow. If you'd like to stay in Shavasana for a few moments longer, please be my guest. Otherwise, we'll start to make our way up to seated. So take any movements you need, fingers, toes, stretches, maybe some rocks around your spine. once you get to your seat, connect your hands together at your forehead. And let's pause in gratitude. I'm just grateful for these reminders that the moon gives us. We're all striving to get there, to get where we're going. But we can still get there if we relax with the process. Namaste.